So my question for you, Brian, is when fear arises for you, and I'm sure there's plenty of it with just being CEO, Prüvit. How do you switch gears? How do you go from the fuck fear to feed faith?
Ooh, I like that. Well, I mean, sometimes I get caught in my own head. I mean, I'm human. Everybody's human. I think that, but I think that for me, it's a reminder. That whole saying is a reminder of like what I am feeding. Mm-hmm. And the reality of it is you get to choose, and I think awareness is 90% of the battle. Yeah. Is once people become aware, wait a minute, I'm operating out of this fear, then they have a conscious ability to redirect their energy. And I think that sometimes it's faster than it is. The more we do it, the quicker we can adjust and shift. For some people, that fear becomes paralyzing. But as we get through it, the next time, it might not take us 4 days in bed. It might take us 2. The next time, it might take us a day. And then I think we come up with our own antidotes. I mean, for me, I know that when I'm feeling that way, sometimes I think it's okay to take a day and to cry or to feel that, but don't live there, right? So for me, I just know with the things that, when I say training, the things I program myself with and then applied to, like I'll go walk, I'll start walking, I'll start moving my body. Even if I don't want to work out, I'll work out. So like when I'm going through struggles, you'll see me working out or walking more than I'm not. When I'm content and, happy and relaxed, and that's when all these things sneak up behind us. Then I'm laying on the couch watching movies, eating popcorn and cookies and ice cream. I think every single person in here deals with a lot of very similar circumstances or fears, and I just think that just like with what you went through, and for me also sometimes talking about it allows me to hear myself. So like when I'm hearing some of the nonsense that I'm saying, like if I'm talking to somebody about a struggle I'm going through, I get to the solution myself. Like I know better. But that's also because of programming, because I put in the work, for 30 years.
Like stop method work, or is it something that just switches for you? Or is it something you tap into to help it switch, or you just have to work through it? Is it more of a work through it kind of situation?
I think for everyone it's a work through it. This is my opinion. Yeah. Like the stop technique is something like, it doesn't mean that it's not there. Like it's just like it's triggering your body to think and focus. What you focus on, you feel. So the more you focus on your fear, the more you're going to feel it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why like something in motion stays in motion. So for me, when I walk and listen to inspiring music or healthy music or a podcast, like what am I putting in my brain? So sometimes I have to overload those negative thoughts because your brain, this is scientific. This isn't me talking hyperbole. Our brains are programmed for survival. So our brain is automatically programmed based on each and every one of our DNA when we're born to look at the things that are the biggest threat for us. Like look at the things that are the scariest for us. That's because we were surviving back in the caveman years, right? And so that's where our brain's programmed. Our brain, if we leave it up to our fucking brain, our brain's always going to tell us the worst case scenario. Our brain's always going to tell us what we should fear, right? What you seek, you shall find. So you have to override that, whether it's work yourself through it or triggers that actually help your brain function in a way that allows it to focus on the good stuff. Movement, positive things in, positive things out, focus. What are you focus on? Putting yourself in a good environment, laughter. You can't be depressed when you're laughing and moving.
That's true.
You just can't. So I wish I could tell you I'm an expert on this, but there's a lot of things that you've learned through that we've all learned, like the stop technique. Like that is just an NLP. It's an association program to help yourself snap out of where you're at. Like shake the shit out of yourself, right? Movement, like shake your ass that Joseph always talks about. That's physiology. It's moving. So like when you're moving and you're dancing and you're having fun and you're celebrating, your brain can't go to that negative place.
Yeah.
Just can't. There was a Robin Williams show. Does anyone remember what it was? He was the doctor and he made people laugh. Huh? Patch Adams. So like that's a great movie to remember the association of the power of physiology and laughter, and that's all your brain. That's your brain chemistry. So Yeah. So, I mean,
So
I
maybe
think,
get out of your head a little bit more and into the heart.
yes, you already know the shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy.
No, it's not.
I'm not saying it's easy
Yeah.
at all. Like, but also remembering greater the struggle, the greater the victory. Like the greater the struggle that you're going through, that's your door. It's a fucking door. Like whatever that struggle is, it's a door. And on the other side is all kinds of perspective and richness. And whether you believe in God or whatever you believe in, they're putting that door in front of you so you can walk through it. But you have to get the courage to walk through that door, to see what's in store for your life. That's what life is about, right? But so many of us, we get stuck right at that door. We're scared to turn the handle. I had a friend of mine tell me the other day, fear is like, sometimes we get the courage up to hold a gun. Well, there's a big difference in holding a gun and pulling the trigger on the gun, right? But when you start reprogramming your brain to realize that fear is just a false evidence appearing real, and the harder you fall, the higher you'll bounce. And there's no one that's ever made a major impact on their children's life. I mean, look, we all make an impact on our children's life. Some good, some bad. That's the truth. Not everyone makes a positive impact on our kids. And the reality of it is, though, is the people that have the most to give back to society and to the world are the ones that are willing to go through the pain, the fear, the struggle, the heartaches, the whatever it might be. And on the other side of that, they have a richness and they have a depth that they can push forward. The ones that don't, the parents that keep their kids, this is one of my greatest fears right now. For me, one of my biggest fears is that everything that I've learned, every person I've met over 30, 40 years, right? And I have sought out, like, I don't think there's anybody in the world I can't get to. That's the truth. I mean, I believe I'm 1 to 2 degrees separation from name someone. And everyone that I've ever gotten to that had an impact on me just energetically, they've had a story of struggle. They've had a story of pain, suffering. But on the other side of that story is this richness and this depth that you feel when you're in their presence. And one of my greatest fears and the courage that I have to do is be willing to love my kids enough to put them in situations to where they have to feel the struggle of life, the struggle of heartbeat, the struggle that not everything is white picket fences and rainbows and country club dinners and, private airplane rides and like, oh, life, let me insulate you from the real fucking world. That is not one of the greatest gifts my dad gave me was he let me live. I went down and stayed the night in the projects down, and he didn't try to keep me from real world stuff, right? And that's one of my greatest fears, that it takes courage because it's my pain. Like, I don't want to see my kids in pain, but if my kids don't have pain, they won't have growth. They won't have the ability to function if I'm not here. So Andy Grammer has a great song, "I Wish You Pain." And that sounds very morbid, but the song is amazing, but it's that exact principle. So whatever it is that you're going through, embrace it. Know that it's going to be fucking hell, but say, you know what? I'm going to go through it because when I go through it, I'm going to have a deeper relationship. I'm going to have a different perspective. I went 2 years without talking to my dad, right? And my dad was my hero. And that was hard. Like, I would have never imagined that. But without that, I wouldn't have become a man. Does that make sense? Like, I was willing to let go of that. And for some of us, like, we're right in front of a door. And instead of walking through that door to this life that we've always dreamed of, or walking through that door to have a more brilliant, vibrant, rich life. Now, that doesn't mean there's not problems. There's always going to be problems and struggles when you walk through that door, but it's going to be at a higher level. The greater the struggle, the greater the victory. The quality of problems that you can deal with are in proportion to the quality of your life. I want to have a lot of high quality problems. So when you walk through that door, it doesn't mean you're walking out of problems. Because when one circumstance you get through, you will have another one come up. And the stronger you become, the bigger the hills are, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not getting to the peak of the mountain and say, I made it. No, there's another peak. Miley Cyrus has a great song called The Climb. Listen to it. Like, I run to that song. Why? Because it inspires me to realize that's what life is truly about. So, and I don't think God gives any of us circumstances. I don't think there's any coincidences that we cannot handle. The question is, He believes you can handle it. Do you have the faith that you can handle it? And are you willing to see yourself as a stronger you on the other side? And I think that takes programming. That takes listening. That takes understanding, because you already know it in your gut, but it's about acting from your gut and not acting from your fear or your head. Prüvit was started literally through a major fucking struggle. Like, that's what people don't realize. Like, Prüvit wasn't started because you had these guys who were just wealthy that had it all figured out, came together. No, I mean, it was like do or die situation, major business failure. Like, I was at the lowest of lows that I'd been in from a business perspective. Like, but if I hadn't have kept moving forward, there would be no Prüvit. But I do think that we've left a big ripple effect in people's lives. Even if it's one person's life, we would have never had that. You don't know how far or how deep that can go. And I will take credit for this. If I hadn't have kept moving forward, there would be no Prüvit. Like, I could have stopped, and I will tell you, there was so much of me that did not. I was scared to death. I was beat up. I was down. I was overwhelmed. I had the least amount of confidence I'd ever had, but I had someone that believed in me more than I believed in me at the time, and he gave me those words. People have faith in those that have faith in other people. Get back on it. You got to do it. Let's go. Let's go. Even when I didn't want to do it, it's almost like he pushed me and forced me to do it. There's something that we all have to understand, and it's just how they catch monkeys in Africa. They go and they put these coconuts up, and they have peanuts in them. And what happens is the monkeys they swing from limb to limb. And finally, when they come across one of these coconuts, they see the peanuts in it, and they squeeze their hand in the coconut to get to the peanuts. And they grab the peanuts. And they're holding onto those peanuts so tight that they're not willing to let go. They hold onto the peanuts, but they lock themselves in with their fists. They can't pull their fists back out of the coconut. Does that make sense? And then what happens is the monkey catchers come around and they net the monkeys. Once they net the monkeys, they take them in captivity. And what we all have to realize is sometimes we're the monkey. See, the monkeys, if they understood, all they had to do is let go of where they were at, let go of the fear, let go of what sometimes they're holding on so tight to, they can get what they've always dreamed of. They can have their freedom, right? So it's the same analogy. You can't get to second base with your foot on first. You can't get all the way to home. If you want to come home, you got to be willing to run the bases.